let's actually learn about how to make this resume work, right? So I have a small presentation deck prepared for this webinar, and then you guys will go over the do's and the don'ts of making a resume. And I think you guys have actually sent in a few resumes to us through the Discord channel, right? So we are going to go through some of them, see what you guys have done good, see what you guys might have missed, and then actually enhance them, right? So also one more thing, any feedback that is given to any of these resumes, please don't take them personally. We're just giving out constructive criticism. All right. So we'll just give some constructive criticism, take it professionally. And yeah, let's just begin. Let me just share my screen so you guys can see the presentation. All right. Is my screen visible to you guys?
Yeah, it's good. We see it.
Nice, awesome. So let's begin with the do's and don'ts of a resume or a CV in the Web3 space. So, first of all, I want to start off with this. This is something that we believe in, and this is definitely a fact. 99% of all companies are definitely going to be hiring right now. And so, maybe some of you guys have already heard of this quote before, but what do you guys actually think about this quote? Maybe anyone who hasn't heard of this quote before, what do you guys think? Let's just make it like an interactive session, and just anyone who can answer that, just let me know. Anyone there? All right, maybe no one wants to answer, but basically, so since 99%, reason why we say 99% of these companies are always looking to hire is not that they are actively hiring using job boards or job posts. It's that if there is someone who they see as a very talented individual who knows how to present themselves, they are going to definitely want to take him into their company and then make room in their team and then get him into this team. So, how do we actually get hired? When we want to get hired, let's take a look at this scenario. Let's say you have a developer who is a master at his tech stack, maybe in Web3 and how to make smart contracts and testing them. He's a literal master at it. And then we have a developer who knows certain things about his tech stack, but he's definitely not a master at it. But the thing about the second person, the person who's average and the person who doesn't really know it all too well, he actually knows how to present himself well. He can communicate really well. And he knows exactly how to make a profile that is optimized for the job role. The truth is, the second developer is the one who is going to get hired, and he's the one who has the better chance of getting hired. So, in terms of getting a job, knowing your tech stack is only half the battle. The second part of the battle is actually knowing how to present yourself correctly to employers. So, how do we do that? The best way you can actually present yourself to employers is going to be through your link, through your CV. So, let's learn about how to make your CV the best CV that you can actually make. Always don't use fluff. So this is something that we see a lot when it comes to the CVs that we get here at Matan. Lots of people in their summary or in their skills section say, I'm a problem solver. I am a team player. I am great at collaborating with teams. I am a quick learner. I'm an excellent communicator. Don't use those. And why do I say don't use those? Because I can't measure them. Those are things that I can't measure. Okay, you're telling me you're a problem solver, but where can I measure that? I can't measure that you are a problem solver. You say you're a quick learner, but again, where's the proof? So the whole purpose of a CV is to give the recruiter data on how to on making a decision of whether to hire you or to not hire you. So this resume that you have to build, it has to give all the data that the recruiter needs in order to make that decision happen. And when you give me these kind of things like problem solver, team player, quick learner, that doesn't give me any data. That doesn't give me any value whatsoever. So that way, my decision on whether to hire you or whether to go with someone else, it's not going to be easy because I'm going to be like, oh, so this guy doesn't really tell me enough information. So I'm just going to skip over that resume. So that is the main thing that you guys want to avoid when it comes to making your resume. Make sure you hit the spot by using quantifiable points. So instead of saying like, hey, you're a quick thinker or a quick learner, you want to start off with something saying like, hey, I have this many years of experience, I have handled this many projects, and I have increased user satisfaction by this amount. Or you can even say something like, hey, I completely refactored their code base to make their code more streamlined and help it be more maintainable on the long run. Say stuff like that that's actually quantifiable. That's the kind of things that when recruiters read it, they're going to be like, oh, okay, so this guy is result oriented. Always make whatever you put in your resume result driven, because results definitely speak louder than anything you can say. You can say you're a problem solver, but hey, if you actually show me or list down something that you have done and you show me the results, that's the proof. You have proven to me that you are indeed a problem solver, and then you have actually done these things as experiences. So that is really important. There's something you need to keep in mind when you're actually writing summaries, or if you want to write something about your experiences, that's how you want to do it. And one thing that's really important in a resume, the hierarchy. The hierarchy in a CV, it really matters, because you don't want to be highlighting the first thing as your education or maybe your skills or even your summary. It's like when it comes to a resume, people are first going to skim through it. They're not going to read every single word on your resume. That happens way later. This is how the recruitment funnel really goes, all right? So you're going to send in your resume. Hundreds of people are going to send in the resumes. So either an ATS system or maybe a HR person is going to skim through all of those resumes. They're not going to read every single thing on that resume. They're just going to skim through everything. And when they are skimming through everything, the hierarchy really matters. What's most important is the first thing that they see on your resume. It has to be the most valuable thing in your arsenal. So the things that you put in your resume, you got to think of it as like your tool belt. You got to think, okay, this is my strongest thing. This is my strongest strength. I am going to include this first. In most cases, that's going to be your experience and your projects. So always give prominence to your experience and projects, because those are what actually matter, because that's where the proof is on your skills and on where your talents lie. So, and another thing to remember is, so when you look at a document, not just a CV, your eye first goes to the top left corner. So let's say your CV is in two columns. You have to give prominence to the top left corner of that document, because that's where the most valuable real estate is in. So let's actually talk about real estate in a CV. You got to know the value of your CV. So we at Metana, we kind of have a few boot camps that is in Web3 and Web2, and we actually have a job guarantee there as well. So one of our students, actually, I think it was last year, he landed a job that paid him 140K a year. The CV that he used to get that job is worth 140K. So whatever job you guys are actually applying for, whether it be a 100K job, whether it be a 200K or even a 300K job somewhere at like FANG, that CV that you're going to use is worth that amount. So it's important to know that every single square, every single inch in your CV, you guys got to make use of it. So let's look at that. As you can see over here, the top left corner of the CV, that's where most of the value is, because that's the first thing that a recruiter is going to look at. They're going to see that. So that's where you want to put your experience section in. And moving on, everything else you can rearrange according to the importance of it. So like I said in one of the previous slides, experience and projects, those two come above everything else. Everything else can come afterwards. Those two things are what's most important. And one other thing. So lots of people, maybe 90% of the people that apply for Metana or send us the CVs through our Discord, they actually give most prominence to their summary. That's not important. Your summary section or your about me section, believe it or not, is actually redundant. It's not something that you want to do. If you are including it, include it after your experiences and project section. Because more often than not, recruiters, even at Metana, we get a ton of CVs. We are not going to read the summary. We just straight away go for the skills. We straight away go for the experience and then the projects. The summary, if we have the time, we're going to read it. If not, we are not going to read it. And sometimes, if your summary contains a lot of fluff, like those examples that I gave that says, I'm a passionate developer, I am a problem solver, team player, then I just feel like, hey, you're not making any use of your summary. You put it here, you're wasting space, and then you're not even telling me about what skills you have. You're just telling me things that I can't measure. So if you do want to include a summary, always make sure the metrics that you include in your summary are measurable. You want to say something like, hey, I improved the efficiency of this application by this much, this percentage, stuff like that. Make sure it's measurable. And the same thing is going to apply when you want to list down your experiences and projects. We get a lot of CVs that just list down the experience. They just say full stack developer, this is the company, this is how long I worked there for, and that's it. That's all you're going to tell. That's not going to give me enough information to make my decision. In fact, you're going to make my decision easier by letting me just reject that CV out, right? So that's not what you want to do. You want to give the recruiter enough and more data to say, this is the guy I've been looking for. I want to interview this guy now. So that's how you land interviews. You got to give data to the recruiters. And how do you do that? There is a wonderful methodology for that, and that is the XYZ method. I accomplished X by doing Y, and I measured it using Z. So whenever you have an experience, maybe it's a full stack developer, maybe it's a Web3 developer, maybe it's a smart contract developer, whatever you did, you want to look back at that experience and look at all the highlights of it. Everyone has highlights in their experiences. So you want to say, hey, okay, as a smart contract developer, this is what I did. This is how many things I was able to achieve. And this was our objective. And this is the result. And you always want to use bullet points, because readability in a resume is very important. If your resume is crammed so close together, there's no space whatsoever, that's giving me a really bad first impression. I don't want to skim through that, because usually when I go through resumes, what I do is I take an hour or two and then I just lay back. I have my coffee at hand and I go through the resumes. And when I see a resume that just is so cramped, it doesn't use any structure whatsoever, font sizes are different, I just don't want to read it. Sometimes I'll just be like, if you can't put in the effort to make your CV look good, then I'm not definitely gonna hire you, because like where's the effort? So remember, make your CVs readable. So that's something to remember. And using bullet points and using this methodology will greatly help your CV. And also, one thing that I actually do want to touch upon is there is currently a debate on whether you guys should make your CVs one column or two columns. And that is because there's a thing called an ATS system. Now, if you guys don't know what an ATS system is, it's an applicant tracking system, and large companies use an applicant tracking system to vet or go through the CVs and filter them out. Now, the thing about making it one column or two column is ATS systems are pretty advanced now, and they actually can detect two columns. So it's okay to use two columns, but if you think that, okay, I don't want to take the chance, then you can definitely use one column. But the main thing to realize is this: make your CV fit for a human to read. If your CV is fit for a human to read, you don't need to worry about an ATS. You trust me, you're gonna be good. So always make sure your CV is good for a human to read. Now let's talk about what I mean by this. It does not mean you want to have flashy designs or have a very weird color scheme or anything like that. You don't want to make your CV a flashy design. A simple document that has structure is a good CV. You want to have your name first, your job title, then clear headings with ample spacing is enough. So that is what I mean by good CV design. So that's going to be mainly what I want to talk about in the presentation. So now next we are going to go into reviewing some of the CVs that you guys have actually sent us, and I can give you guys my feedback, and then you guys can further improve the CVs. So because of time, we're not going to be improving everyone's CVs. So we only going to probably do 2 or 3. But other than that, you can use this feedback actually to make your own CVs. So, and one other thing, don't just make your CVs using Google Docs or a Word document. Okay, that's something that's really old. It's like you're living 10 years in the past. There are tools that you can use to make CVs using specific templates like either the Harvard standard or any other standardized template for a CV. You can use either Careerflow or many other tools. Just go to Google and then search CV building tools, and you can find a bunch of free tools you can use to build your CV. Use those tools and then use that to build your CVs. Don't just make it in a Word document. And another thing, don't use Canva. Canva is really bad in terms of structuring your CVs. And another thing is when you make a CV using Canva, it's so obvious that you used Canva, and so many people use Canva. It just seems like you're duplicating everyone else's CV. So don't use Canva. Definitely use a specific tool that is tailored towards building CVs that are readily available on the browser. So other than that, if you want to know more information on how to definitely land a job, and if you want to get hired guaranteed, definitely visit metana.io for more information and more tips just like this. So now I'm just going to stop sharing this window, and we can actually go on to look at a few example CVs that you guys have sent and give my feedback on. So let me just stop sharing and then share. All right, before we actually go into your CVs, let's actually look at a CV that I have actually optimized, and then we'll look at how those compare to other CVs. And I'll show you guys why this student was able to get a job that paid him 140K and why this CV is worth 140K. So let me just share my go. All right. I'm assuming my screen is visible. So for privacy reasons, we have blocked his contact details as well as his name. But the first thing about this resume is it's only one page. That's something that's really important. Don't make your CVs long. That's not something that recruiters like. And that just means they have to spend more time to get the same amount of data compared to some other resume that is only one page long. So this CV, he was able to land that 140K job using just this one page. That's the same thing that you guys should try to do. Make sure you only include the data that is absolutely necessary. You don't want to use giant blobs of text. That's not something you want to do. Just 2 or 3 points of text is enough for each experience section. So now I told you guys a summary section is not that useful, but if you are using a summary section, you want to use metrics that I can measure, right? So this guy's summary section is absolutely awesome because he's actually telling you, hey, he has 10 years of experience and then led a development of an application that was actually worth 500K. And he's also telling me that it won the gold standard by his client. So that's the kind of summary section you want to use if you're using a summary section. And to be honest, this dude doesn't actually need a summary section because he can just remove this summary section, and I still would have been very impressed about this CV because everything else that he has listed down is really top notch. It's actually giving me links to his GitHub and all the projects that he's listed here. So I know he's not lying. So, and everything else where he's listed in the experience section is all to the point. So, and this actually gets me to one other point. Almost all the CVs that we got, about 95% of the CVs, don't highlight the tech stack that they used for their projects or their experiences. The tech stack is really important because here's something you guys want to know about recruiters, right? Recruiters, they're not technically knowledgeable. They didn't study software engineering. In most cases, they studied human resource related subjects. So what happens in the recruitment funnel is they consult their engineering team and they say, what is your requirements? What are the skills that they need? and what they look for are the keywords. And the same thing applies for an ATS or an applicant tracking system. They are looking for specific keywords. If you're aiming for a Web3 job, it's probably looking for stuff like Solidity, Solana, Rust, Hardhat, Foundry. Those kind of keywords are what they are looking for. So that's a tip for your CVs and your interviews. When you go up to a behavioral interview, just litter your answers with those keywords. So do some job research, figure out what those relevant keywords for your job role are, and then prepare yourself to answer using those keywords. That's definitely going to help your chances of getting a job. So that is also why highlighting the tech stack is super important. And again, you can actually see he has actually mentioned stuff using the XYZ method. And then you actually see that he has measurable metrics. And another thing, these metrics that, where it says 30% over 20 features, it doesn't need to be a 100% accurate. Most of the time, recruiters, they're not going to look too deep into this. They're just going to ask you how you did it, and all you have to do is explain what you did, saying that, hey, there were these functions and I refactored it to be cleaner, and then there were these things that didn't have one source of truth and they were referencing it using multiple different sources of truth, so I put it into one source of truth, and that optimized all our problems, that made our code much more cleaner as well as make it more maintainable. So just like that, on the fly, just give out an answer of exactly what you did. Do not lie about what you did. It's just that you can actually just estimate what the result was. So you, in his case, he actually did increase his revenue, but he doesn't know that whether he increased it by 30% or maybe he increased it by 10%. All he knows is he did increase the revenue, and he knows exactly how he increased his revenue. So he just said, I assume it was about 30% over the 2 months that he worked there. So that's how you want to mention the experiences that you have. So when you use the XYZ methodology in your experiences, it's going to be a very strong CV, because more often than not, every single job application you find on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or any job board, about 90% of the CVs that they get are very bad. So if your CV looks like this, you're definitely going to get called for an interview. So that's what we are striving for. So we are striving for this. He has the projects listed over here, his experiences listed over here, and he hasn't given much prominence into his education because that's not important. He's a seasoned software developer, so it does not matter. But what if you don't have 10 years of experience? What can you do? What you can do is you can build your own experiences. And how does that work? It's the project section. It's time you start building your own projects, and then highlight the tech stack, and then explain what it fixed, and then what the result was. And when you're actually making projects, make sure those projects actually fix a real world problem. That way you can actually show results. You can say, hey, this was the problem that I was trying to solve, and using this application, these are the frameworks I used, I was actually able to fix this problem. That is a result driven answer. That is a result driven problem. That is a result driven project. So that's how you want to include your projects in a CV. So remember, if you don't have any experience, start doing projects and then list them using the XYZ method. So that's all that I'm going to talk about this CV. That's again how you want to be building your CVs. Now let's maybe look at 2 CVs that you guys have shared with us, and then I'll give my feedback on how we can improve them. So let me start presenting, and let's look at maybe this. All right, so let's look at this CV. So we got a bunch of CVs that looked like this. So when I get a CV that looks like this, it's gonna get rejected. Because like I said in the presentation, your CV is worth whatever salary you're aiming for. And by that, what I mean is every inch of paper or every inch of pixels in that CV matter. And when we look at this CV, what has he given prominence to? like I said, the top left corner is where I first look, and all I see is his contact information. Okay, that's not going to help me make my decision. What's underneath that is education. Okay, if he wants to highlight his education, what has he highlighted? There's nothing. He hasn't mentioned any of the courseworks he's done. There's no GPA, no skills that he got. So that's gone. Okay, let's look at the next side. So the biggest thing that he's given prominent over here is his about me section. But again, that doesn't help me make a decision because he doesn't list any of his skills, nor does he tell me any of the experiences that he has done that make him stand out from the rest. He's kind of written it in a way that adds a lot of fluff. So, like I said, do not take any of this feedback personally. I'm just saying this as constructive criticism to help you guys make your CVs better. So that's the disclaimer. But yeah, it says my name is blah blah blah, and I am passionate about the transformative potential of blockchain technology. Okay, but how is that going to help me? I am looking for a smart contract developer, or I am looking for a Web3 full stack developer. What part of that is going to help me make my decision? So every time you guys add something to your resume, you want to think about the job role you're applying, and you want to think about, okay, how am I helping the recruiter hire me? That's the question you guys want to answer. So, and then let's look at the experience section. If you look at the experience section again, we see, okay, he does have some experience. He has been a ambassador for 4 different Web3 companies. That's good, but you're not telling me what you did there. What are your achievements? What exactly were your responsibilities? So that's something that is really missing here. And another thing that's missing is your portfolio as well as your GitHub and LinkedIn. GitHub, LinkedIn, portfolio must include in your CVs. You have to include them in your CVs because that really helps recruiters make the decision in the latter stages of the recruitment funnel. They're not going to go into your LinkedIn right away when they see your CV, but once they vet your CVs, once they funnel through the CVs and they collect the ones that they want to interview, they are going to go to your profiles, they're going to go to they're going to go to your GitHubs, your LinkedIn profiles, and their portfolios, and then they're going to do some due diligence there. So we got a lot of resumes that don't include those 3. So make sure you include those 3. And then finally, something on what not to do is his skills section. You have to include skills that are quantifiable. What I mean by quantifiable is skills that you can prove right away. Stuff like I know JavaScript, I know Java, Python, C hash, C sharp, or even Web3 stuff, just like Solidity, Solana, Rust, or anything like Hard Hat. You want to include skills that are quantifiable. You don't want to include skills like I am a solid team player, I am a good problem solver. Those aren't skills that are going to help me make my decision. So that's something you guys want to improve. Now let's look at a different CV and see how we can actually further improve the other CV. So let me present that other CV. Let's just find it. Where is it? Let me just share. All right, you guys can see my screen, yeah? I am going to assume it is. Yeah, okay. So let's look at this CV. So when I see this CV, the first thing that I would fix is the real estate problem. Because if you guys can see here, this CV is 3 pages long, and that is way too long. So we definitely need to be fixing that. So first things first, what I would do is I would maybe get rid of the summary section because as it is right now, it's not really helping me make my decision. So rather than having the summary section, I would make the skills section much smaller. Instead of having them be aligned vertically, I'll probably align them horizontally and then move them up to the summary section. But if you're very adamant about putting a summary section, what I would include is the number of years of experience, because this person right here, he has some good experiences. So he's been working as a full stack engineer, and it's been going on until like 2023. So that's almost like 7 years of experience. Yeah. So that's actually really good. So I would definitely highlight him as a senior full stack developer with 7 years of experience who is now specializing in Web3. There you go. That's all you got to do when you want to start a summary. Just start your summary like that. It's strong and it gives them a quantifiable metric to know how skilled you are. So rather than saying I'm a dedicated and proficient full stack developer with a strong foundation in both Web3, and also there is a spelling error here. So remember, always double check your CVs. This is not something that recruiters would like to see, because that shows me that you don't have attention to details. So in both Web3 and mobile technology. So you can highlight the fact that you have 7 years of experience in your summary section. Now, the second thing I would actually improve on this is this text blob over here. I would not want to read that unless I absolutely have to, because it just does not look attractive whatsoever. So, and another thing is, most of these bullet points don't show me the result of the work that you did. See, the reason why I'm looking for results is this: anyone can do work, but only a few people can do the work and then get the results we are looking for. So that's why it's important to always have elements in your CVs that are result driven. So that's those two are the two main things that I would change about this resume. Other than that, pretty much everything is okay. And the other thing, like I mentioned in the previous resume as well, portfolio, GitHub, and LinkedIn. They need to be present in your resume, because if not, people are going to think you're not real. They're going to think this resume is a scam and they're going to reject it. So definitely include those things. And again, try your best to fit your resume into one page, but that doesn't mean you want to cram everything together. Let's look at that first CV that I showed you. Look at this. Nothing is crammed together. Everything is spaced properly, but he's able to fit everything in one page. That's how you guys want to do it. Only include what's absolutely necessary. So let's look at this experience section. So all he's written is hired and trained a leading agile team of 7 full stack developers. That's it. That gives me enough and more knowledge to know that this dude has good leadership skills and management skills, and he knows project management because it's an agile team. As opposed to a bullet point over here, it is a whole paragraph that actually tells me what exactly it is that he has done. That's not something that I want to see. Tell me what you did and what you achieved in one sentence. That's going to be much more impactful, and it's going to give a good impression to the recruiter, because one, it's going to be more attractive, two, it's easy to read, and three, it's no fluff, to the point, simple and sweet. So that's pretty much all that I would change about this CV. Overall, it's okay, but yeah, let's try to change those. So when everyone else in the webinar, you guys are making your CVs, definitely remember these facts, and I guarantee you, you are definitely gonna get called for interviews. Because like I said, majority of the CVs that every recruiter is gonna get, they are gonna be bad. So if you follow these rules to make your CV stand out from the rest, trust me, they're not gonna pass out on your CV. So that's pretty much all I actually have to offer you guys for this bootcamp or for this webinar. So do you guys have any questions or anything you guys would like to ask me about really anything? Yeah. So, you guys want to know the platform? So we use a few. We have stuff called Enhanced CV. We have stuff called Career Flow. Again, the platform is not what matters. What matters is the content that you put into the CV, the hierarchy of the CV, and the structure. So the reason why I tell you guys to use tools that are specifically tailored for CVs is because they take care of the hierarchy as well as the structure. All you got to do is put your experience in a Word document, format it in a good way, then copy and paste to the tool, and it'll just create your CV for you using a standardized template, such as the Oxford standard. So the Oxford and the Harvard standard are two standards that many recruiters recommend that students or potential employees use, because that standard is made in order for a resume to be short, sweet, and extremely readable. So that's something you guys should remember. Again, the platform is not what matters, it's the content, the structure, and the hierarchy that matters. But for this case, you guys can just search up Enhance CV, or you guys can search up Career Flow, and they will have the tools what you are looking for. So anyone else have any questions, anything at all regarding how to get a job, or like what you guys are lacking? I'll be happy to answer. Yes, Joao. And no, so it depends. Let's say, so Joao, the question you're asking is really good. That's actually, I'm glad you actually asked that, because now I can explain that. So what Joao is asking is, would you say experience and projects ordering in a CV is subjective depending on the employer? So basically, what he's asking is, hey, if you think a different experience is more valuable than your most recent experience, how would you put it? Let's look at a good example. So let's say you are a Web 2 engineer who is graduating to Web 3, and you have one Web 3 experience that you did some time ago, but most of your experience is Web 2. What I would do is I would separate it into two sections. I would first separate it into saying Web 3 experiences, and then list down that old Web 3 experience there. And afterwards, I will say other experiences, and then list down all my Web 2 experience. Why am I doing this? Because I'm going for a Web 3 job. So if the roles were reversed, and if I have if my most recent job is a Web 3 job and everything else is full stack, and I'm aiming for a full stack job, I would actually put my full stack experience first, and then say other experiences, and then put the Web 3 job there. But if all your experiences fall in line and are in the same tech stack, it is recommended you use the chronological order. Put your most recent experience first, and then go down to the oldest one. So I hope that was actually answers your question, Joao. So
Do
anyone
you
else
mind,
have a question?
do you mind if I intervene with voice? What I
Yeah, go
what I
ahead.
kind of meant was like, so that good CV example that you showed, the guy highlights his experience by saying, participated in an agile team, leaded a team of 7 developers, etc., for company whatever. That's what's considered experience. And then what I consider project is you specifically talk about a project you developed. For example, weather app that helps you track weather across multiple countries, build with JavaScript, whatever. So that's what I mean when I say project, and the past one is what I mean
Right,
when I say experience.
right.
What I
When
wanted
it
to
comes
ask is
to
which is the most valuable one?
experience,
Okay.
always experience,
All right.
because
All right. Thank you.
experience means it's measured. You were working with either a team, or you were delivering something to market, or delivering something to a client, and it's just generally more valuable than a project, because a project is something you would either do individually, unless it's more of a employment related project where you were contracted to do a project, then that's also in the same level as an experience. But if it's an individual project that you have done, like you said, a weather application that you built to measure weather in different countries, any experience that you've had in full stack is way more valuable than the project that you have done. So experience, then the project.
All right. Thank you. That makes sense.
No worries. Also, James is asking a question. So, hey, Ashin, do the candidates update their resume every time they apply for roles, because the candidates have to concentrate on simple results? No. So, another good thing about using tools like Enhance CV or CareerFlow is that they automatically can help you tailor make your resume for each job description. So you don't have to completely remake your entire CV for every single application that you apply for. What you got to do is go to maybe Enhance CV or CareerFlow or any other free tool that is there. By mind you, Enhance CV and CareerFlow aren't free tools, so you guys might have to find other tools that are free that are definitely available on Google. So What you want to do is you want to find the keywords of those job descriptions. So let's say, let's look at a job like smart contract developer. Then unit testing is definitely going to be something that's really important. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the keywords relevant to that and then highlight those keywords. So let me just show you as an example. So let's go to the student's CV. Okay, so imagine he was looking for a Web3 job. So this student was not looking for a Web3 job, he was looking for a Web2 job. So that's why his CV is made for Web2. But if his CV was made for a Web3 job, instead of highlighting these client side and server side Web2 related skills, these would come below everything, but the first skills that would be highlighted would be Web3 related stuff. And then instead of saying full stack developer, he can say stuff like, I am a smart contract developer with over 10 years of experience working as a full stack developer. He starts off by saying what he currently is looking for, which is a smart contract developer. And then he's going to say, I also have 10 years of experience as a full stack developer. So those little things are what you are going to be changing when you are applying for different roles. So you don't have to rewrite the entire CV. You don't have to do that. Just keywords, maybe add some, maybe change the tech stack, or maybe rearrange the experiences. So in his case, let's look at this. He has no experience in Web3 and he wants to get into Web3. What is he going to do? What he's going to do is he's going to do a project in Web3, something that covers everything there is to learn about what role he's applying for. Then, instead of the summary, what I would do is I would create a section called key project. So, key project means the best project I've done. And that key project is going to be my Web3 project. And I'm going to use this same template he's used here in this experience and then add it as the key project. So that way, the prominent highlight in his CV is going to be that Web3 related thing. Afterwards, I'm just going to leave everything else the same. That way, everything else is going to be complementary on top of that Web3 project. So that's how you would want to change your CV. You don't want to entirely change the entire CV for every single job application you're applying for. All right, so I hope that answers everyone's questions. So in light of time, that's all the time we have for the Q&A session. So I hope everyone got some good value from this bootcamp. If you guys want to get more tips on how to get a job, how to land a job, how to maintain your job security, or maybe learn how to face an interview, definitely head on over to metana.io. We have so many resources there on our blog, maybe on our bootcamps. Definitely check it out. Yeah, hope you guys got some good value. Awesome. So yeah, no worries. Appreciate it. I will be hopping off the call. See you, Hiran. See you, everybody. And good luck on your job hunt.
Hi, thank you.
See you, Joe.